Now, jokingly, people call the piston rods on these pencil rods, but I mean, it's not really a joke. That's a pencil, and that's the piston rod. Hey guys, and welcome to Riggs Garage. Today I'm going to be talking about putting a turbo on the Honda D-Series single cam engine. This will be my first turbo D-Series build, but I have been reading a long time and listening to people that have dyno numbers and quarter-mile drag strip slips. So I am going off of what those people say. As I talk through this build and show you the parts, I do want to give some credit to D-Serious on YouTube. I will put his YouTube channel link below, and the video that I'm referencing somewhat, I will post that up here now. I've also done a Mini-Me swap on this engine on my D-Series. Check out my Mini-Me detailed engine build video above if you haven't seen that. And I also have a video on how to wire up your Mini-Me build as well. So let's have a look at what my engine is now, and then we can walk through some of the parts here that I have gathered. And if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the Riggs Garage channel. Also, if you have questions about any of this, I've researched a lot. I haven't built one of these engines in particular. I built other engines, but hit me up in the comments below if you see my other videos. I try to respond to every comment that I can respond to, or have the knowledge to at least, or I'll point you to the right direction where I know you can find the right information. Let's get going. Thanks for watching. I'll just give you a quick tour of my current car. This is a 93 DX hatchback. It's got 15-inch Chevy Cobalt wheels on it with original Honda center caps, 205 50-15s. It's lowered on Yanaka coilovers. The reason I like this car is it has zero rust. That's zero rust. Zero rust. I love this car. I got it for $1,000. The interior is even minty fresh. Oh, well, besides that, the common shark bite on the bolster there. But anyway, the car has 180,000 miles on it now. I bought it with 144,000 miles. This is the original D15 B7 bottom end, and I did what's called a Mini-Me swap. So check out my other video if you don't know what that is, but basically it's a VTEC head on a non-VTEC short block. You get a little bit more compression and performance out of that deal. It also has a P28 computer in it to control the VTEC. So P28 is a VTEC computer, if you're not familiar with that. But anyway, there's kind of the ground knowledge, and let's get into the turbo side of things here. Because I use this car a lot, right now I am building the turbo system around my air conditioner because this car has air conditioning and it works. You'll see that the kit revolves around a log style manifold that should allow me to keep my air conditioning compressor in place. So just to start us off, the D-Series is not the common turbo build. Usually people swap the D-Series out for a B-Series or now K-Series or an H-Series. Now within the D-Series, the common turbo builds are usually the D16Z6 VTEC engine or the D16Y8 or the D15B. Now the D15B is close to being a D16Z6, but I won't go into detail on that right now. Now Eric, why do you want to use a D-Series engine as a basis for your turbo build? Well, that's a great question. Like I said, people swap these out all the time, and this car already has that engine. Now guess what? People swap these, so you can buy engines on Facebook Marketplace. I got a full short block with all the accessories for $50. So that's a big deal. You can get this engine for 50 bucks. 50 to 100 to 150 in running condition. Also, they now make rods for this engine. One of the main reasons people don't use these for turbo builds is A, they don't have two cams, but that's fine. Lots of people are making 400 to 500 horsepower on these. The main reason is the stock bottom end has rods that don't usually live past 200, 215. Some people say they're getting 230 wheel horsepower, and that's probably with a really good tune. Now, jokingly, people call the piston rods on these pencil rods, but I mean, it's not really a joke. That's a pencil, and that's the piston rod. You can see how easy it would be to bend one of these rods, right? But anyway, if you build this bottom end, it will handle 500 horsepower plus. Also, I mean, some people are using CSS or block guards to make this block more bomb-proof. Now take a step back and think about what you're doing. You're taking an engine that makes 90 to 120, 130 horsepower, the D-Series, and you're making 400 to 500 horsepower. You're going to need to make some changes. Let's look at what those are. So I got a $50 engine block. The first thing I did is I took this to the machine shop. I got a great deal on the engine. I'm not going to have to spend all my money on accessories because all the accessories are already on this engine. It's going to be a simple short block swap. I'm going to use this VTEC head and put it on that short block. I went ahead and bored this out. I have no idea how many miles were on this engine, and boring and machine work, decking here so this is perfectly flat, is super critical when you're trying to make high horsepower. So they make pistons in 75.5 millimeter. Stock bore for this is 75 millimeters. So I'm a half millimeter overboard. You can see a nice cross hatch there. The machine shop did a great job. They also spec'd out the crankshaft. This is the stock crankshaft. They ended up micro polishing it. They did not need to turn it. It is within spec for factory bearings. Now the key to this short block, especially for the D15 B7, is pistons and rods. Now this is the P2P0 custom length Vitara spec rod. These rods, like I was talking about, are slightly longer. They're 136.34 millimeters, and they are forged steel. The longer length of this rod puts the Vitara piston further up in the hole, giving me higher compression than it would with a standard length rod. A standard length rod would put me in the 7s compression wise, and that's really doggy until that turbo kicks in. In this case, I'm going to be at around 8.5 to 1 compression ratio with the Z6 head, if I remember right. Little comparison here. This is a Vitara piston. Now the reason they're called Vitara pistons is because this is a V6 piston from a Suzuki Grand Vitara. People found that these work very well in the Honda. You do have to flip them around so the valve reliefs are in the right place. With the Honda engine, it's the opposite of what's in the Vitara engine. You'll see this arrow. It points towards the flywheel of the engine instead of the water pump of the engine. Now, I've seen a lot of chatter on the internet about the piston to wall clearance for Vitaras. If you have too much piston to wall, they make kind of a diesely noise and slap around in here. Now, these are probably going to do that some. There's a little bit of play in here. I followed the Vitara recommendations here. The recommendations for a turbo Vitara build on a Honda is 1,000th per 100 horsepower, allowing for expansion and high heat. This is a cast piston. So I am at 3.5 thousandths piston to wall clearance, which sounds really wide. I talked with some LS guys and they're like, yeah, that's crazy. And maybe it is, but I am 2 spec, and then I will be gapping the rings wider than OEM so the rings don't butt together and kill my ring lands. Now let's go over the plan for the turbo kit. The turbo kit's kind of in flight still. The reason I'm not slamming everything together now is because I'm waiting on injectors. I'm going to do a Honda ECU, the S300 V2, and I need some intercooler piping, things like that. If you have any of those things, hit me up on Instagram at Riggs Garage. Send me a message. I'm actively looking for those. So I need 1,000cc injectors, Honda, black intercooler piping if I can. I'm also looking for a wideband gauge so I can tune this thing correctly, and other miscellaneous parts. So what I have here is a wastegate that I bought from a friend that he's running on his car. I will upgrade that to a name brand soon, if not before I even build this, if I find the right deal. This is the log manifold. You'll see some of them that have a wastegate on this runner here. Some people say that that maybe has boost creep issues. I don't know, but I found one with this in the center. I got it for like 40 bucks. This puts the turbo in a place where it will clear my air conditioning compressor as long as I build a downpipe with enough bend to it. Here's this little turbo. It's a T3 T4. It's like a 50 millimeter and it's 60.63 AR on the exhaust side. So it should be enough to feed this engine up into the mid 300s before I run out of turbo, I believe. And then finally down here, I have this new black intercooler. Maybe give me a little sleeper effect if I hide that intercooler behind the stock bumper here. I just wanted to bring you guys into the action on that. That's the result of like a 1.5 or 2 years of parts gathering as I find parts at good deals. I have a machine block, got a turbo kit. I am ready to slam this thing together. I want to make it so I'm to the point where I can make a short block swap in a weekend. Obviously I'll need to spend money on a really good clutch that can hold 400 to 500 horsepower and have a good budget for tuning and things like that so I don't blow up this work after gathering parts for a couple of years. That would be super frustrating. So that's my video updating you on where I am with the Turbo Civic. Hit that like button and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you have questions about the turbo builds. I have read a lot. Again, I'm not an expert, but I feel like I do know the answer to most of the questions. but it's not all backed up by experience yet. So come along with me, get that experience, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.